Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This video is something, again, I've not done this before, but this is a review. Yep, that's right, I'm going to be reviewing a drama. This is my first review. So if you've not seen the show, I suggest to switch off now, but I also suggest watching the show because I would highly recommend it. It's a very good show called Quiz, which was on ITV earlier this week, and it was about the court case and the trial which happened back in 2001. That was the year Charles Ingram won Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and there was a whole coughing scandal. Did he cheat or not to get the million, to get all the questions right? So, if you haven't seen it, switch off now, go watch it. If you have watched it, I'm going to be reviewing it. So, I thought it was a fantastic show. I really did. I thought it was very well put together. The actor Mark Sheen, who played Chris Tarrant, played the part very well, was quite realistic, did a very good job. As well as that, the actress that played Diana Ingram, Charles's wife, looked very much like the real one. It was kind of creepy. Charles Ingram didn't really look at him, but it was all acted out very well. And the court case as well was, I can't fault it. One scene I felt that was quite disturbing, and I don't know how much of the story was true, because obviously it's based on a true story. We don't know what's true and what's not. I certainly don't know too much. I've not read into it. I've just seen the drama. But the scene, obviously it was true about everything that occurred with the press, like all the publicity and throwing eggs at them and like everything that happened. But if this was true, it's really sad, and I think it says a lot about some people. When the dog got shot, like that hurt to watch, because it wasn't the dog's fault. It's a pet. It's the dog's life. I mean, I can understand the frustration at Charles and Diana and the family. And the kids as well. I felt so sorry for the kids that they went through this whole scheme, not considering the children at all and like the consequences of what could happen. Another thing I thought was interesting was how the brother of Diana, Charles's brother-in-law, I've forgotten his name right now, Mark or someone, Albert, I've forgotten his name, my mind's gone blank. But anyway, we already knew something fishy was going on at the start, so the suspicions were already in place when he'd applied to be on the show 4 or 5 times. He eventually got into see it on the 5th occasion, if I remember correctly. Then Diana had tried, and then Charles, who wasn't even into quizzes, they didn't know that. But there were suspicions already in place, so they really should have done background checks before everything happened, being very careful about who they would allow on the show. For example, I think they should have had a rule, like only one member of the family could go on the show, something like that. Just so, it's just dodgy. Another thing that was interesting was the mobile phones. When they said, oh, no mobile phones are allowed. And then they realised when the ITV producers and the makers, Paul Smith and whoever else was discussing the show and all the studio people, do they check that nobody has mobile phones on them? And then they all looked around and they were like, we just assume, no, nobody checks it, and they're like, oh. Like, I know it's back in 2001, and obviously nowadays, you can't go into a show like that, because the show's still going on, you can't go into a show like that and they check and you're not allowed to have your mobile phone. But to think that it was allowed back then and there were no checks is mad. And the whole coughing thing. Now, I think another thing, before I go on to the coughing, the defendant played her part very well, did a very good job, and I could see why people will think that the family are innocent, because it is an edited tape at the end of the day, and she's right in saying that it's edited to look good for the jury, and if there were that many coughs, 192, how can you tell which one's distinctive and which ones are not? If you're just picking out 19 out of 192, then that's a fair point. Like, yeah, Chris Tarrant as well, when she asked him the questions, he had no idea about anything going on, and a lot of what she said did make sense. I do think it's weird in a sense that Chris didn't seem to believe it. I guess it's his show and he didn't want to think this could actually be a real thing and it could happen. But I mean, there were signs, and for him to think it was just normal and it was overnight, and he said before he couldn't understand the decisions and the strategies, and he wasn't like a normal player. So I feel like he may have thought it was suspicious but didn't want to say the truth. I don't know. But I definitely thought that the brother of Diana should have been taken to court. I don't understand why he completely got let off the hook. When he was there the first night, he was round the back, he had the mobile phone. He got told off by that producer a couple of times not to be on the phone outside the studio. And she knew about him, she was aware. It was very fishy and dodgy. Yeah, so the coughing, let's get to the coughing. Yeah, I would say it was a very funny show. I like the humorous aspect to it as well, so that was good. But the coughing scandal, in general, that's what the whole thing's about. The coughing bit in the court scene, oh, it was hilarious when everyone was coughing. If you didn't like that, then I don't know. But it was very funny. It was just the irony. It was just clever. How everyone got the cough, and even the judge. But yeah, I feel sorry for the kids. They were young, and when they were getting bullied at school, and then the little one said to the mother, "But did you do it?" We never saw her response. She probably said nothing. How could you lie to your own kids? How can you say it wasn't true? And the whole Ingram thing, Charles not knowing Mr. Whittaker. I can't say his name. Mr. Whittaker, let's talk about him. So, in the phone calls give it away as well why I thought that Charles was guilty. Well, I felt like it's not his fault, but it is, because it's all the wife's fault. Diana is all to blame for this whole thing. It was her brother. She contacted Mr. Whittaker. She was coughing. She convinced her husband to go on it. So she was it was her fault, but this whole thing happened. Charles is still to blame, but he kind of got swayed into it by his wife. Mr. Whittaker had the cough. Whether Charles knew him or knew what was going on with all the phone calls, I don't really know. That bit's a bit unclear. But he obviously knew there was a coughing thing going on. For him to change his answer from A1 to Craig David, who a moment ago he'd never heard of. Like, nobody does that. He was about to answer A1. Tell me he was not guilty and explain that decision to me. There was no thought process. He did not know who Craig David was a moment ago. And the other question was the Google one, just before the end. Mr. Whittaker coughs once he finds out the answer is Google. And the guy notices it. Good spot that was. But, yeah. It's weird to think that they did get a couple of fines, but there was no sentence, and they were guilty, but were suspended, and they kind of got left off the hook because it's £1 million. I don't know what happened with the cheque in the end. But the brother-in-law, Charles' brother-in-law got away with it. I just think that it's a shame Chris Tarrant couldn't have seen the other side. If he had thought that, yeah, Charles is guilty and noticed the correlation between everything, then it could have been a very different outcome. Because he's the presenter, he was speaking to him, he was the main one in charge in the middle. But I definitely think they've got to have some rules. I don't know what it's like now, but definitely the no phone thing for any quiz show, and no audience noise. The coughs. I mean, yeah, people can cough at any moment, but it's a weird one. I don't know. But would thoroughly recommend the programme. I will be posting more reviews of things I've watched, all kinds of stuff, if I think it's worth it. And if it's a popular programme, then it will definitely be on my channel, hopefully. Request if you want, because, well, I still need to have watched the show, but I'm interested to hear what you guys have thought. So, yeah, please do that. If you have seen the programme, I would love to know your thoughts, whether you think Charles was guilty or innocent in the end. And remember to like, comment and subscribe, and thank you for watching.